Another day here at the NAL with a 7-0. It feels like every single play day we try to break this record by having at least one of those. But next up, Darkzero Wildcard, which hopefully is not going to be another 7-0. Welcome back to the NAL, where we have DZ, who is a team that last stage was doing really, really well. And then they go to an international and they come back and I don't know what happened. And then we're looking at Wildcard. Inconsistency.
I think both teams are just in a little bit of an identity crisis. DZ obviously has reached the top of the NAL, the top of events. You know, they've been there before, and I think they're just in a situation where they're overcomplicating it, trying to find the basics, but they also don't want to forget all of the new things that they learned. A little bit too much overcomplication. As for Wildcard, it just looks like they don't really have anywhere to go to. They're just stuck in, old ways, don't really know how to adapt from there.
Yeah, I mean, looking at DZ's roster, I feel like we're like on the opposite spectrum now, when it's like last time we were like saying, oh, they're so good, they're so great, everyone can like pop off, and it's like the Swiss Army knife, and now it's like, what's going on?
Well, I mean, yesterday, I was convinced that they were going to win that matchup, and especially starting on defense on border, I thought we were going to find some success. They only managed to get 2 defenses out of there. I mean, granted, SSG came very prepared in that matchup, but it definitely left me in a lot of situations pretty perplexed on how they were playing some situations.
Yeah, they had a lot of missed opportunities that we were seeing from them yesterday when it came down to some of these fights, and that's just not the situation that you would expect a roster like DZ.
Yeah, I mean, round 1, this is where I definitely think they overcomplicated. Bomb is inside bathroom and tellers, and why are you trying to fight for CC? That's not the main position that needs to be fought for. Instead, they start losing numbers all across the board and getting picked apart by SSG, and that's not typically the typical DZ that we see. They're usually very good at understanding win conditions and site control, and then going into round 5, sure, this was a great play from Space Station, but why Nafe is, one, needing to reload, not sure if he was pre-firing, what he was doing, but getting caught off guard from there, and then no one able to follow up, losing that out. But then we get into round 7. Fultz should have never clutched this, and given how structured DZ plays on defense, they knew where Fultz was from the beginning, top metal, once he takes the first engagement. So why we have a player swinging from 90, why we have these two not being able to play this 2v1 proper, the player just, I mean, there was many scenarios that could have outplayed that spot for Fultz not to be able to get that clutch, but they just double up, play it improperly, and then just leave all of SSG to clutch. But in all 3 of those scenarios that I'm talking about, that's not typically the standard DZ that we're used to seeing, that is very tight and very structured and methodical in how they approach these defenses.
Yeah, and there was also 2 players individually that we wanted to highlight where it comes to like both sides of the coin, that they're doing really well, but then also having like a little bit of a mishap here and there, and those were Citizen as well as Spirits.
Yeah, for me, when I look at this roster, I think everyone can step up in their own department. But for me, the biggest 2 that I think carries DZ through and through really comes down to Spirits and Citizen. They're kind of the yin and the yang in this situation here, whereas one day both are doing really well and then the other kind of has a little bit of a fall off. But for me, it comes down to their survivability. Where it gets to that end to late round where we were seeing that a lot last stage, their survivability isn't looking too great. Obviously, this does contribute to the entire team not having that success. But for me, if both of these 2 can just get on the exact same page, whether that's on defense, whether that's on attack, and just coming together and being able to both be alive in that late round, that's where I feel I'll start to see DZ come alive again. I think that's kind of where they lost their touch. But it's not to discredit anyone else on the team. Everyone else does need to step it up. I just need these 2 in particular to find that rhythm, find more life in these rounds than what they're doing in the early rounds, because what they're doing in the early rounds is great. I just need to see it in the later bits of the rounds of them all coming together cohesively and closing out, whether that's defense or attack round.
Yeah, talking about coming together and finding rhythm, I think that's also pretty much true for the likes of Wildcard, because this roster, I mean, it's been ups and downs ever since, and it gets to a point during the whole year where you need to find consistency.
Yeah, and I don't think they found it. If anything, their insecurities have come out, specifically going to a map like Border against Cruelty was just a situation where it felt very underwhelming why they would even pick the map or let the map slide through when there was so many better options they could have went to.
Yeah, specifically the performance that they had yesterday against Cruelty was so underwhelming. We expected a lot more from that.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to the opening kills, I mean, they didn't really get much. They got it 4 out of the 10 rounds. You can see it in a lot of their plays. Very aggressive, very individualized plays. It doesn't really look like Wildcard respected Cruelty, but at the same time, it looks like they were just trying to play with a chip on their shoulder. They were just trying to focus on their own game, playing individualized Siege, knowing that they could beat it. But that just means that you're building bad habits if you're Wildcard, because when you play against a good team, you can't hope for them to just throw that opening pick advantage. And even though Wildcard's playing super aggressive, good teams are not going to lose those rounds when they get the opening. So it just doesn't look like Wildcard had necessarily the best strats that were grouped up. It was very individualized, and they would just try to bring it back just by being the better players.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily going to work, especially when you're going up against a roster like DZ, which neither one of these teams are too unfamiliar with each other, because the history that they two share, I mean, it's always going in DZ's favor, which brings up the heat even that much more for Wildcard.
Yeah, Wildcard has faced DZ 3 times during stage 1 and has lost all 3 times. And it does go down to the wire, but obviously, I mean, they played Clubhouse during the regular stage. That was a 7-4, and then in the playoffs, DZ was the one to knock them out. And obviously, yes, it does go the distance, but it just goes to show that Darkzero's consistency in those late rounds, having the understanding of how we're going to close out rounds, the win condition has always been there. But that's something that we don't even see anymore from Darkzero. It looks like they have their own insecurities as well, with having Nafe and Spirits being the ones to get those picks. If they don't do it, no one else does it on the team.
It's like the theme is existential crisis this time around for both of these rosters, but you have to do it today. You have to get it together, because we've already touched upon it a little bit for DZ. They are currently sitting on 8th. The difference between them and Wildcard is 2 points in total. So you want to make sure that when it comes to this map, Vito Lax, that you're setting yourself up for success, whichever roster that is.
Yeah, I mean, border coming out for both these teams. Neither team clearly looked too strong, and I will say Wildcard looked far stronger their first time around when they played against Shopify Rebellion. But as for yesterday, yeah, I thought it was very underwhelming. And then even for Darkzero, I thought starting on that defensive half, given how structured they typically play, that it was going to be a lot better of a result. Obviously, that was poor. So if I was to look at this matchup and with it ending on border, it makes sense. As for Darkzero, I'm sure they're going to come in and correct their mistakes from what happened yesterday coming into that loss. Whereas for Wildcard, versus a weaker opponent, keeping it close, losing a lot of those opening engagements, I'm not too comfortable for Wildcard regardless of starting on that defensive side.
I feel like Wildcard has the basics. My issue with Darkzero is it looks like they have 2 different teams of ideology. They have Spirits and Citizen that are able to go get the kills and make the plays. And they have NJR, Pamba, and Nafe, who are also very passive players. And I think we've found themselves in a position where they've lost confidence in their own abilities to go for those aggressive picks. They need to be set up in positions. So if they let Spirits and Citizens try to do it, which is why their survivability is so poor, because they're constantly doing it on their own. And if it works, okay, maybe they'll be able to close that around. But if it doesn't work, DZ has no response, because those 3 passive players feels like their own insecurities are coming out and they're not confident in going for those plays.
Yeah, but as much as we're kind of bashing this way on DZ in terms of them not necessarily being the team that we saw last stage and them having a lot of insecurities come out, it is against Wildcard. So this is a roster that, oh, whoa, wait.
What were you going to say?
I thought you guys were going to go for DZ. Explain. Lax.
I think we just explained it.
Yeah, I mean, I still am going to stick with Wildcard just because of the inconsistencies on DZ's end. I think I need to see a lot more improvement, given from where they were stage 1, where they are currently now. Whereas Wildcard, I'd say they're exactly in the exact same spot where they did ramp up in playoffs, where where DZ didn't necessarily have to. So just given statistics and history, I'm just going to stick with Wildcard because they've been the most consistent in terms of their problems, where DZ's still kind of facing that crisis.
Wildcard's issue is discipline, in my opinion, on border. Darkzero's issue.
I would say discipline too, given their match versus SSG.
Who, for Darkzero?
Yeah.
I just think Darkzero just looks completely lost. Like, they don't believe in each other's strategies, or they don't believe in trading off each other anymore. They look like a completely different team.
Well, we'll see whether or not the casters agree with that point as well, because we're ready to head into our second game of today with Border. We have Wildcard against DZ, but actually I would really, really like our casters to let me know whether or not they agree with the prediction from the desk, because what?
I think what you got to remember about being lost is that not all those that are lost wish to be found. That's something to ponder, at least as we head into our second game of the night here. Both of these 2 teams, Jesse, played Border yesterday, and it was 2 very different results. Wildcard, they were able to get a 7-3 win over Cruelty. Darkzero, they lost 7-4 to SSG. Now, in the context of things, a game against Cruelty isn't the same thing as a game against SSG. However, what I will agree with the desk on is that Darkzero have lost a little bit of that identity, and it's now that they need to show it, because they are not guaranteed for playoffs, and they need 6 points across the next 2 days to give themselves even a chance.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ollie. This is a critical game for Darkzero, but I would also argue it's a critical game for Wildcard. I mean, yesterday's game against Cruelty, did they win it? Absolutely. But they did not look very powerful. I mean, there were some rounds in there that Cruelty absolutely should have won. Wildcard, especially in the early game, were really struggling to get things underway, and they had to rely on some big clutches from Cans and some big plays to go their way. And on the other side, I mean, Darkzero got clutched on quite a bit. There was that crazy 1v4 from Faults that we got to see yesterday. So it did just feel to me like Wildcard were playing, honestly, a little bit worse Siege on that map. The analyst desk has gotten far more into it than I will. And I never feel good betting against both of our analysts. But for me, I really need to see something more from Wildcard today to be confident in them beating a team like Darkzero. Are DZ a little bit discoordinated? Are they maybe not on the same page? I think those are all absolutely fair criticisms, and I don't disagree with anything the desk said, but I also just feel like Wildcard have been on a bit of a downward trend, and so I'm really hoping we can see that get reversed today. Everything is on the line. It is a critical moment in the stage for both of these teams. If they're going to show up and show us their best Siege, now is the time to do it.
There's definitely levels to it, isn't there?
Yes.
And I think that stats are great, but especially in NA for stage 2, where some games and some teams have lacked a long way behind the rest of the pack, it just distorts the stats for everybody, because everyone's got to play them. I've never been too much of a stats fan myself. I do like to just believe in my gut, and my gut says that DZ will do it today. Now, my gut on SAL is second to none. Like, if you want to use your channel points, just hit me up before the game. I'll tell you what it's going to be. You just let me know.
This is not SAL though, Ollie.
Well, yeah, I'm saying I'm developing my gut for NAL. It's been refined over years. That you've got to remember this. The NAL one's still it's purely in its infancy. We're still just getting used to. Oh, is that a twinge? Is that like a good twinge or a bad twinge?
You're cultivating the right.
Surely we'll find out.
Cultivating the right gut bacteria, right? I mean, it's a complicated system in the gut.
It's important. It's really important.
It's like ambitious on that smoke. Yeah.
Good opener though. Pamba. He's gonna fall. Oh, he gets a second as well. Nath, you've just been done. Spiker drop into the deck. Running double shotgun, by the way. Initial point of pressure and the attempt to take over East Stairs. It's fallen flat on its face.
Yeah, that's a great defensive play coming through from Spiker, playing the sentry on East Stairs. I know something that FaZe Clan and a lot of the Brazilians like to do quite a bit is play that sentry over there. Spiker playing it absolutely perfectly, despite all the smokes and the glass play that was coming his way. Darkzero, they're timed together, but they don't get anything for that push. And so now they're in a 2v5. They still haven't cleared out security. Bay's hitting his shots today. Citizen hits the deck, and there goes Kansan for the final. It's an easy cleanup of the last two Darkzero players. I said Wildcard have to play better if they're going to beat Darkzero today, and man, it doesn't get much better than a flawless start.
Looks like Wildcard are playing in a hospital ward tonight.
This is where they usually play, right?
It's like those screens that you erect around like a hospital bed.
They've got their secret strats behind those, eh?
Yeah, whatever works for them.
Honestly, just so well played by Spiker. I felt he was able to correctly identify where he needed to swing and when. He was really the rock of that hold for Wildcard, the youngest captain in the North America League once again. And so it's really important that he gets the team motivated, he gets the team energized. I believe it was last week in the interview where he kind of talked about how this week was all about the energy. It's all about keeping them up the pace. That game versus Envy last week, I believe Spiker said was the worst game he thought Wildcard had ever played, at least with this roster. Bouncing back from that is absolutely critical to making this playoff run a success, and once more, this will be the test for that.
Attacker's objective is to defuse a bomb.
Because of course tonight Wildcard are playing for more than just the end of stage 2. They're playing for the regional finals as well.
Yep.
So whilst this game means something for both of these teams for the end of stage games, it means a bit more for Wildcard due to their performance inside of stage 1. They are neck and neck at the moment with Cloud9, so it really does add on the pressure somewhat. DZ will be aware of that, and the game's a game. Both teams need to win it, just for different reasons. It shouldn't matter how badly you want it. The want should be the same. I just hope that DZ are able to get a little bit more of a handle on these opening picks and those sort of opening 3-2-1s, because to see one of those go sort of drastically sideways, it's fine for the odd round, but we need some consistency for them tonight. Because the opening pick, again, for DZ, it's been something that's really, really been struggling with them, and it's so much so Nate's even spoken about it in interviews.
Drone going up.
Bit of a slow start for Darkzero. They kind of went for a rush round one, and so now reining things in a little bit. Spirits has got a lot of free space. They're worried about one inside of offices, and they're correct. And Spirits does get that frag, takes down Kansan, traded out. Pamba dies to Dash. 4v4 now in this top floor. There are still wildcard players lurking up here. There's one of them. Bay with the run out finds Citizen. Now he's in a really strong spot. Nobody else really in a position to find him, but Nath gets Dash instead.
Serious disrespect from Bay there, running out under the cover of the smoke. On the Oryx, does have the option to rotate over. I think Bay's going to be more than happy just to play his life right now, depending on what his team can do on the site. If he picks up another here, it could be wraps. DZ only just the other side of the corner. Stuns come out, full white, and cleaned up by Nath. Usually Spirit's on the glass, but Nath has taken the reins here in round number 2. A minute to find these last two players, full health attackers, both defenders chipped down. Should be fairly straightforward for Darkzero right now, but drones aren't their friend. They've got a lack of information and no real ability to make any verts in these floors. They're kind of left scrapping with what's already there. As you can see now, NJR just checking if there's any angles to be found. But it is time to hop into those drones, figure out where these final couple of players are, make the drop, make it successful. NJR, great kill onto Spiker. Baby Shark, he was watching the bottom of those main stairs, wasn't anticipating the 3-man hatch drop, as DZ have been allowed to set up in sight. Plank goes down, and final kill secured.
Nice little finish from Darkzero. It was the roam clear that really got them that advantage, and it was honestly kind of a strange round, a little bit scrappy. Nath can hear the breath of Bay inside security, but Nath is on the glass. Bay no clue that he's there. Nath ends up getting flashed by his teammate in the midst of that as well. I believe NJR flashes him as he's inches away from Bay, but there's no harm, there's no foul. They trade out with correct numbers, and honestly, even though the positioning was a bit odd, Nave did hit some really nice shots. His positioning was good enough to get 2 really strong kills there, so not trying to disparage him at all. It was a really strong round from Darkzero, and I think we got to see a little bit of the lack of discipline in Wildcard that both Foxay and Laxing were talking about before this game began. You know, it's those early opening picks that don't always go their way, when you've got to rely on some of those top floor players like Kansan, like Dash, like Bay to survive in the early round. Sometimes they do get a bit over eager. Sometimes they do take fights where it's not so advantageous for them. And we got to see Spiker succeed on the aggressive position in round number 1. It's unlikely to be a common spot for him. He's going to be playing East once again on the smoke this time around. So reining in some of those early deaths is really important for Wildcard going forward in this match.
Lynx and I have a little bit of a bit that we do about East Stairs being called NJR, just because that's basically where he plays.
Yes, yes.
It's bold of Spiker to assume NJR's position in a game against him.
That's so funny.
You would hope that it's very quickly dealt with, because you play it a lot, you know all the vulnerabilities and the weaknesses of it. NJR will be looking to get in through Passport, at least opening up that Passport door. Playing on the ace this time, so he's going to be looking for something to open, conscious that there will be an East Stairs player. We'll want to try and take a bit of advantage of that, but he's going to need something to happen above to really force that player out of position. Baby Shark, no one's accounted for him right now. Some great aggression, catches NJR in the drone and disappears like a thief in the night.
That's a crazy play from the French rookie on Wildcard. Makes that run out, gets the down onto NJR. Diffuse kit falls to the floor as he does that. And all of the momentum for DZ has just been shattered. Wildcard in a really powerful position in this round now. Border not a map where Heartbreach is necessarily that critical, but to break open some of these positions, especially for Bathroom, if the Passport wall is closed, that could be big. Spirits is trying to take matters into his own hands and finds Dash, but it's not an easy kill. Gets it anyways.
Eventually secures it, but pays for it with a lot of HP. Nath the same. Kansan, he's low, but he's still in the fight right now. Desperately trying to find something inside a fountain. Got a good line in toward Archives. Good position from Spiker as well, able to rotate, but Baby Shark might be low HP, but he is certainly not out of the fight. Goes head-to-head with Pamba there and secures himself another. Spirits and Nath left to try and deal with this top floor, and the Roamers are retaking for a time. Then they drop the hatch into Archives, recognizing there's 50 seconds left. These guys haven't got all too much. Spirits is going to take him a lot of swings of the hammer to really open up any of that flooring, and even then there's going to be nobody there for the catch on the basement level. The hatch is reinforced as well. The diffuser being outside a passport, you can see now, is becoming an urgent focus from Darkzero. Spirits is left to try and make a little bit of vert and see what he can find. The only likely avenue for the two remaining players is to force something in through passport. Back upstairs, they rotate, 20 seconds. Hatch now open. Vulcan packs, they can start to be detonated. Nath tempted for a bit of a drop in a plan, but with the wall open, it's going to be very difficult. His team can try and watch, but Kansan on the retake collects 2. And Nath inside of showers. There's nothing for him to do. Might find an exit frag here, but that's all it'll be.
We go back and forth on border, just as we'd like to see with these two Titans. Really good round once again from Baby Shark, getting aggressive and taking matters into his own hands. I know it hasn't been the best stage for Wildcard, and I think you could very well look at stage 1, look at stage 2, and say this is maybe a bit of a worse performance for them, at least so far through the stage. But I think Baby Shark as an individual has really stepped his game up since stage 1. There's been a lot of individual growth from him. His KDR is up 1.25, up to a 1.25 from a 0.97 in stage 1. I think he's dying way less. He's got really smart timings at this stage that we weren't seeing as much in stage 1. Just feels like a real renewal of confidence for him. And of course, being a rookie last stage and still a rookie now, but having that extra experience, I think, has made all the difference. He gets this first kill on a run out. His second kill, I don't know if we caught it on cam, but it's onto a Raptors position. He's inside Tellers, and he just peeks the Tellers window to get the kill onto Raptors. Again, kind of an aggressive play, not an expected move that you'd see from a defender, but Baby Shark's not most defenders. Then he takes those types of risks, often paying off for him. Really good start for the Shark.
It felt nice and calculated onto NJR, though. It felt like he knew that that was a bit of a player tendency. Obviously, both of these two teams playing this map yesterday, it gives great opportunity for prep work and very recent prep work at that. If Wildcard have put the time in, very likely that that was a almost pre-decided and, as I mentioned, calculated play. It certainly paid off.
5 seconds left.
5-man 6-pick from Darkzero right now.
Attackers must
Their
locate
plans
and
have
defuse the bomb.
changed. Spirits going to be rocking the Amaru. You got a couple of options for the Amaru when attacking into Armory and Archives. Option 1, sandwich window. Option 2 is the small hatch. Both of which tend to work quite well. Sandwich window involves a little bit more setup, and it involves a lot more pressure from the rest of the team, whereas just popping up inside of the hatch in the room where Dash is playing right now can just be a little bit more devastating as you get immediately into the center of the site. So he's certainly a player to watch. And don't forget, just because it's an Amaru doesn't mean it has to happen in the first 30 seconds. These can be plays that brew over the course of the round. But something that won't be brewing this time is Nath on the sense, as he's taken out again as Darkzero suffer that opening death.
Yeah, and that's back-to-back rounds where Baby Shark is downing the defuse kit outside the building very early on in this game. It's difficult to state just how important that is going to be for Darkzero. Even if they rush through the site and have a massive play here, they won't be able to plant.
Ooh, alternate angle right now as it was a hop up in through CCTV. Still a very good means of gaining quick control, but it isn't going to do anything. Wildcard are in position to very handsomely deal with that.
Everything
Kind of looked like a bit of an
apart.
overreaction from DZ, like, oh crap, we lose Nath, we've just got to try and make something happen.
Yeah, it was tough because NJR then goes down to a Nitro right afterwards, too. He's in the midst of throwing a flash, I believe, on the south side of the map and then just gets eaten by a Nitro cell. Spiker ended up tossing that one out from the hallway. So really strong start from Wildcard, not letting DZ get set up with that. I like that you were talking about how recently these teams have played Border because there is a lot of footage. Darkzero didn't run that strat at all yesterday against Space Station Gaming. The Sens coming out from Nafe was brand new. The Amaru coming out from Spirits was brand new. These are not operators that Darkzero have ever really brought going back over the last couple of months, at least since the summer. So a new strategy from DZ. Wildcard were not phased by it. That was meant to catch them off guard. And it's really looking like our analysts were right on the money in terms of the problems with these two teams. Border is historically an attacker-sided map. I know that yesterday the teams did tend to choose to start on attack when they got that choice. Wildcard actually got side choice here, and they did choose defense, but for overtime side choice, Darkzero chose attack. So you have to imagine that for both teams, they feel that they're on their stronger side.
Which makes sense. I think Darkzero's attacks this stage have been, they've left us wanting fairly often at times. Amber, a player that's really gone missing this stage for me, Jesse. I mean, someone that can have such an incredible impact on the roster. Citizen as well, in this game in particular, 0 and 4. Like, these aren't numbers that we're used to seeing from these sort of players, especially not Citizen, who he needs to be that impact player, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Citizen, even when DZ have been having problems, has always been the rock that has been showing up. One of the most talented entry fraggers in the world, I would make the argue for, but this game against Wildcard, I think it's just been so crazy, so unpredictable, and maybe with DZ going for so many little pocket strategies, it's been hard for him to really find his place. He's going to be here near Pambazoo at this point, trying to help them out on the security clear, but Baby Shark, he's done this 2 rounds in a row now. Will he again make an aggressive swing out? No, Spirits is in.
Spirits is in, nearly finds himself a kill. I thought Dash had his back to him, but Spirits is going to fall, traded out by Citizen. Welcome to the scoreboard, Ben. It's nice to have you here. Is this going to be the start of a better round to come from Darkzero? ROU projector, if that gets dropped right now, it could be critical. No, just behind the desk, the outlines baiting me into thinking that Kansan was just on the wrong side of things there, but of course he knows better than that. Nathan with a good bit of information onto the site as well. It was a dangerous thing when the IGL's on a drone in sight and has the diffuser. You do start to worry, is there going to be an immediate call to sight? But it looks like a bit of a stall out at the moment, and Wildcard happy to take that. Bay and Kansan have got a brilliant cross at the moment.
Love this control so far from Darkzero. Very clinical, but that's not what you were hoping for. The drone's not strong enough. The rat spots are better. He does get traded out, but then will we see anything else? No, Kansan drops too. NJR eventually cleans up Bay. And that'll be a 3v3. Really strong trades coming out from Wildcard. Some rat positions and some good gunfights go their way. This could have been really bad for them, but Darkzero will have to push this now 3v3 and without their captain.
I think that's a brilliant play from Kansan to drop the hatch when all that starts to happen as well. There's an argument to say that he leaves Bay out to dry a little bit, but it's so much more important that he's there to keep it 3 versus 3 than risk getting another kill. DZ going to try for this hatch drop once again. The cover being provided again by NJR as Pamba desperately trying to get that kit down. He hasn't got a lot of HP, but fortunately for him, the smoke has kind of been misplaced. Kansan on a bit of an attempted retake here, but punished by Citizen. We mentioned that he hadn't got a kill until the start of this round, and so far he's found 3. 2 versus 2 now as Baby Shark, he gets taken out by NJR. Spiker just looks like he's windmilling with the shotgun right now, desperate to find anything. But with a player above and a player below, it's going to be almost impossible for him to retake this. Can emerge through the smoke, send one of his own up through the hatch. Another nade comes down, forcing him out of position straight into NJR's lap.
Another tough one for Wildcard and Spiker. I mean, he's the best player on his team statistically at the moment through this game, but even still coming through with a round like that, struggling a little bit to find impact in the late round as a smoke. It's the exact same plant Darkzero went for back in the second round. It's the exact same spot where they go down, but the smoke doesn't really do a whole lot to deny that. It might have been a call for a post plant. It definitely felt like their positioning was getting ready to really lock down the post plant instead, but as soon as Kansan loses his one top floor, I mean, that rotate up metal is absolutely predicted by Darkzero. They do a really good job of setting themselves up in the post plant instead so that Wildcard cannot thrive in that situation. Easy very much still in this game. Wildcard, I liked their early game there, trading out quite nicely, but in the end, they just didn't seem to have a great strategy for the late round.
It's great to see that DZ have been able to stabilize this game without taking the tactical timeout as well.
Yep.
So now they've got that for a little bit deeper on.
Attackers have discovered the location
Still
of a
able to
bomb.
salvage a 3-3 split at the half, which would be more than fair. I do think that this round is fairly critical, mainly for the mental on the side of DZ, honestly, because they've won one
Attackers'
site
objective
twice.
is to defuse a bomb.
If they can break that mold now and get an advantage somewhere else, I think they'll feel like they have better control. It's nice that Citizen got himself a little 3K in the previous round. That's now him off the mark and hopefully activated for the rest of the game. Really on Wildcard. Doing a very good job of deciding where to defend and very quick to react as to where DZ are pushing. That's been something that's been noticeable. Think back to the Amaru round, and they were very quick to almost spin on a dime and immediately be in position to affect and assist that defense. Nice value out of the shock drone there as the FNATs will be removed. NJR rolling the dice once again on this rappel. I think it's fairly safe to assume that Baby Shark won't do the same thing again, but you never know.
Inside bathroom at the moment, maybe going for a different aggressive play. We'll have to wait and see. Teller's window is always an appealing option for him, but I think this is going to be a very classic East Stairs attempted clear. Spiker's playing that with the smoke, one of the most common operators we see in this position. It's got backup that we can see from behind. Scans in on the Aruni, does get droned out, but at least trades the information. What can they do to protect each other, and how much time can they waste? Spiker's actually moved down the stairs to waiting. He's still holding around East, so that's still going to be his primary objective. The push will start top floor.
Citizen falls again. The information not good enough. Kansan just able to sneak around. And the target may have been Bay, but he looks fairly safe here as well. He's got himself a nice little angle. Maybe that pre-fire onto the window gives him away. There's not much to root him out of this position. Yeah, you've got Dokubi close, you've got Lion Scans, you can know where he is, but you can't make him move. Pamba, tempted for a walk in East, but you know there's always the risk that someone's going to be below. Spiker, fortunately for him, is kind of in the middle of main lobby and really should just be dead, immediately taken out there by Pamba. Kansan again in with a trade, though. He's been the player of the moment so far. Bay just fluffs his shots. As last round, it was Citizen to get 3 kills after not getting any. This time, Pamba on for 2. Could be about to pick up a 3K of his own as NJR starts to get that plant down. And I don't think that Wildcard are in position to do anything about this. Kansan, he's still up there on the roam and was leaving a lot of hope and wishes on Dash's shoulders. Kansan good for 1. But realistically, shouldn't get any more. Drop. DZ maybe will hear this. There are a couple of drones kicking around as well. Some nice shots on through the wall. Just let him know you're there. Kansan, he's one shot to any gun right now. And needs to hit 2 headshots pretty much back to back if he's going to hope to pick this round up. But Nath, the very skinny angle, not leaving anything to chance there, secures the 3-3 half.
And after Kansan started that round so strong for a wild card, it was absolutely critical that somebody like Pambazoo steps up and starts to bring things back for Darkzero. That's his first kill of the game in that round, by the way. Pamba was 0-5 heading into the 6th round, and this has unfortunately been a trend for Pamba. He was the lowest rated player on Darkzero in both games last week, going particularly 2-11 in that 7-5 loss to OXG, where it really felt like with a little extra push, Darkzero could have gotten the victory in that game. Pamba had a fine day yesterday. He went 8-8 against Space Station, but he's a player who has had a couple of really rough games so far this stage, and it was looking like this might be one of them. Turns it around, though. It's a bit of a solo play East Stairs that starts to turn things back in his favor. The first vert pick onto Spiker, and then it's another pick later as well in the hallway to clean up Dash, or to clean up the other player that was roaming up above with him. So I think that's really good individual play from Pambazoo. It's not necessarily super well coordinated, but I mean, it isn't. He doesn't have anybody with him, but it is timed well with the push that's going on towards break room, right? He's still moving at the same time as his teammates. So saying it's not well coordinated isn't correct, but I do hope that we can continue that trend on the defensive side, because Pamba is an extremely talented player. Once upon a time, I would argue the best player in North America, but it just hasn't been his stage in stage 2.
I think it speaks more to how DZ are playing at the moment, right? Because Pamba makes a good play. It isn't. There isn't a lot of fail safes in place for if he loses one of those gunfights. Like there's no one immediately there to like pick up the slack or get the trade. It's a must-win gunfight, and it's just one of the times where we're seeing him win him because he's, I think, quite often, and I think a lot of DZ are being put in must-win gunfights where there isn't necessarily a backup plan, and it's been one of the problems that we've seen them have throughout the stage. So when you see them pull it off, it's like, yeah, it's great, but for the other 70% of the time, those plays haven't really been working for them, and that's why they find themselves where they are right now in the standings. It feels like a shame for DZ to be down there at, what are they at the moment, 8th?
Yeah, it's tough where Darkzero are currently at. I mean, they know this is must win, right? This game's gotten a little bit closer than I think they would have liked. But on the defensive side, they have a good chance, I think, to start turning the momentum back in their favor. 60% defensive win rate throughout this stage. It's been their stronger side, so this might be their opportunity to turn things around. We do have NJR playing in the spot that he is oh so famous for. I was casting with Parker yesterday, and I actually made the claim that he was the best East Stairs player in North America. So I'm glad that Yumi and
we've
Lynx
made that claim as well. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
You're in good company. I love this clash play from Spirits. So aggressive. Citizen, opening pick there over onto Dash. Baby Shark has burst through into CCTV. Surely is able to find at least one. He gets 2! We talk about Amaru being able to thrust themselves into the heart of the action. And that's exactly what Baby Shark's been able to do. Dismantling 2 defenders and nearly got the clash as well. Spirit's fortunately still alive and somehow has managed to rotate himself in towards Armory. But look at the amount of time now that Wildcard have to work with.
Brilliant
what a shot from Nath. They're the kind of plays that we need to be making. He might find himself another here as well. Just needs to bank on. Baby Shark being a little bit too aggressive once again can just further open himself up an angle. Wildcard have really missed out on an opportunity right now. Spirits finds one. He's peeking from behind that clash shield. Nath only down at the moment. Bay starting to get dangerous. It's 1 versus 1 with Spirits. You're 1v1 with a clash. And you've got 39 seconds to figure it all out. If you give too much space, maybe he rotates over and picks up Nath. Instead, Bay is going to be moving quickly. Caught out on the default cam. That will give the game away. Spirits now knows that reviving Nath is not an option. The diffuser, that's not going to be a part here in round number 7. This is just a battle of nerve. Spirits playing the clash exceptionally well, maintaining distance, not letting Bay get too close and not overextending. You've got to be careful, those Spirits. The push has to come here from Bay. Great shot from Spirits to secure the round for Darkzero.
Spirits, his first clutch of the season. I guess it won't technically be counted as a clutch in the stat books, but definitely felt like one with the down player not being able to impact anything in that game. Played so perfectly from behind that clash shield. Bay really wanted to find some way in there, but there was nothing he could have done. He didn't have the utility. He was out of nades to try to pressure that clash shield, force Spirits to pick it back up. It was a crazy round start to finish. I thought I was going to be praising Baby Shark in this post round as he had been absolutely the star entry player, making that play up in with the Amaru for 2 deep frags in onto that aggressive kind of security and hallway hold from Darkzero. But in the end, it's that, I think, constant pressure from the clash. It's a brilliant shot from Citizen to get the numbers traded back out into the favor of DZ. And in the end, it's nerves of steel from Spirits. I don't know how he hit that head. Such a tight little shot, but he risks nothing in that round and he plays it so perfectly. So good to see Spirits thriving on a shield, something we come to expect from a guy like him, and Darkzero will take the lead in the second half.
Spirits has been that player so far for Darkzero this stage who has stepped up when it has really mattered the most. You know, when the likes of Pambazoo or Citizen have been struggling, it feels like Spirits has been there to not quite fill that gap, but do his best to fill it. I mean, it would have been a dying shame if DZ had lost that, by the way. It would have been, what? Yeah. 3 versus 2? So very good job on being able to clutch that one up. I do believe we are going to go to a short break while we sort the rehost out, so please bear with us. We will be back as soon as the game is ready. Hello everybody and welcome back. Thank you for bearing with us while we got everything ready and set up. We haven't missed any of the action. We still have Darkzero and we still have Wildcard in our second game of the night here in the North America League. It is crunch time, and Darkzero have a very narrow lead of 1 round in what so far, Jesse, has been a very back and forth game.
It absolutely has, Ollie, and this is a critical one for both these teams. If you're just joining us now, both teams are in a brutal fight for playoffs, currently sitting outside the top 6, which is where they need to be. Darkzero in particular, 8th place at the moment, would be desperate for 3 points up against Wildcard. It is so ridiculously tight down at the bottom that there's no telling how things are going to end out. Both teams will need the final play day regardless, but today is still critical. Go down to Ventilation Workshop for our second round on DZ's defense. The first time Darkzero went for their defensive split, they did walk away with the victory. It was a 3-3 first half, and then DZ really stepping up, I think, in that first defensive round where we saw Spirits with some really great clash play, clutching out the 1v1. He's going to run back to that same operator, and he's playing a similar position up on the top floor with most of his team.
Dash going to be on his trademark Monty for round 8 here. Shield is often where Dash will find himself on the attack to varying levels of success.
Yep.
It isn't always a guarantee with Dash when he picks the shield, but sometimes it can work. At the moment, very quickly droning out the site, and Citizen is going to be here all alone. Of course, on the mute, not the more ideal smoke for this situation. And that pressure that comes in vertically, well, NJR is going to be there to deal with it. Great kill onto Bay. What feels like the first time that DZ are going to get this opening pick, and Dash needs to be cautious on this Monty. This is one of the reasons he has so many problems. Unshielding there and trying to take advantage and find an angle onto Citizen, but Citizen has found himself in a corner right now.
He's retreating to the mute jammer to silence the phones. Here comes the smoke walking in through vents. This is going to be the plan. Get it done from up above, but watch out for Nafe. He's playing the Solus from up above.
Ooh, provides the ping. Pamba should just be able to depth charge the C4, but no! The plant's allowed to go down. That's not how this is meant to work. Spirits will find one, but Spiker immediately there for a trade. DZ do still have an advantage right now, and with Monty being eliminated, it's doable. But it's a very difficult post plant to try and retake onto, especially if those players are allowed to get outside. A great kill from NJR. Takes Spiker down as Nath drops down to this level as well. Spirits needs to do something on this clash now. He needs to get on that window and provide that cover. Baby Shark narrowly missing out there on the C4. People already trying to disable that diffuser, but a great shot from NJR. Kansan, are you able to thread the needle? Are you able to find the shot? No, he picks up an impactless frag. DZ able to throw bodies in the way. And Spirits on that disable. Maybe the clash shield itself on his back coming to save him just a little bit there.
What a crazy round to come through from these two teams. Wildcard completely ignore the roam game top floor. They say, screw it, we're going to go for a smoke Monty plant. Looked like their first inclination was to go into Workshop, but seeing how powerful Citizen was in that spot, they instead changed their mind. They go over towards vents, and then it's a brilliant idea to stop the plants. You've got the Solus pinging out from above. You can drop down a Nitro cell. If this was real life, that's a free kill, easy peasy, but sometimes in Siege, those Nitros, they get stuck on the bars. You get lied to by the preview of the toss, and I think Pambazoo just getting a little bit tripped up there. What was critical, though, is they didn't flounder after that mistake, right? After they failed to deny the plants, it is an immediate reaction to the plant going down. We didn't catch it on stream, but Spirits on the clash was inside of jail, and he runs out the jail wall to get the first pick in that round, in the post plan, I should say, giving the advantage back over to Darkzero, killing Dash with that run out. Absolutely vital kill for him to grab. And then NJR inside the site, able to go for a big push out and kill Spiker as well. So it just felt like top to bottom, everybody on Darkzero was reacting really nicely. Here's that run out from Spirits. You can kind of see it on the outlines as he was headed over towards jail. So cool little play from Spirits on the clash, then using the shield to protect him on the disable as well. Super well done by him. You have to imagine, after what we saw in round 7 and 8, that Wildcard will be beelining to a clash ban after round 9.
Got to be the way to go, hasn't it? Spirits. The thing is, what do you do? because he knows he's got capability of playing more than just the Clash on that defensive side.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just put him onto another problem operator. Looks like, unfortunately, we are going to be hitted another rehost right now. I'm not sure what's going on between these two teams tonight. Typically, we get very lucky with the amount of rehosts that we need to rock on any given evening. But once again, we will be cutting to a very short break. But as soon as the game is back and up and running, we will be back. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for bearing with us. We hope that this is going to be the last rehost we have of the evening, because this has been a great game so far, Jesse.
10 seconds left.
It has, Ollie, and we're really hoping that we can get through the rest of it without any problems. Wildcard may be hoping that there are some more problems, at least for Darkzero, because the second half has not gone their way at all. DZ 2-0 on their defensive half after splitting the first 6 rounds 3-3. DZ only 2 rounds away from getting a critical 3 points, and most importantly, denying those points over towards Wildcard. Both of these squads in desperate battles to make it into playoffs, as the race is incredibly tight this stage. Spirits on the Clash has probably been MVP in both rounds 7 and 8. He will bring out the operator for a 3rd time in a row, and likely the last time before it gets banned. Starting with a little bit of extra information gathering, playing outside the building, no risk as he is on that shield operator. Meanwhile, Wildcard aren't so concerned about it. They are once again focused on the horizontal. They're not as concerned about what's going on up above. Good Twitch work from Bay will start things off, and an entrance and through jail will begin this custom side push.
Dash, where we've seen him play the Monty before, is instead going to be on the Dokubi this time. The Monty not really working out for them previously when attempted. Wildcard so far struggling to find any success here on this attack, which kind of leads us into why we've ended up on border anyway, because of course both of these two teams played this map yesterday. And there was a bit of a question as to who that may favor the most. At least so far, it looks as though it's favoring Darkzero. Kansan will be inside of servers though, and can look to try and start getting open that triple wall. You'd like to think that DZ are ready and waiting for it though, because I feel like it's a very bold and early position to go for. But now the top floor push comes in, and look at this, they're chasing them down like dogs on this top floor. Dash may be good for another, but the cover is there from Kansan. NJR and Citizen now left. A very quick execute, not a quick round, as we're into the almost final minute right now with Citizen alive in the 1 versus 5. But it's certain that Wildcard have brought a lot of pace here into round number 9.
Surely no hope, right? No. Okay, cleaned up in the 1v5. No hope for Citizen there, and a flawless answer from Wildcard, and a desperate one that they needed to stave off match point for Darkzero. A really cool push. We've seen this a couple of times throughout the stage, throughout the year, where a team will start off horizontal. They'll fake like they're just going to ignore the top floor. They'll get control of custom, maybe pressure towards workshop a little bit. But then as soon as you start, as soon as that one timing gets hit, right? The logic bombs go out, you rush up metal, you go get your kills, and that was executed perfectly from Wildcard, completely catching off guard Darkzero. Dash really the spearhead of that push, getting the first kill on the top floor, helping his teammates get that space to clean up everybody after too. It was a weird little kill on the Spirits that we saw from Baby Shark down with the melee inside a Passport. Not sure how that ends up going down. Spirits has been a little bit solo on this Clash throughout the third quarter, but it does get banned out now, so we won't see any more of those Clash shenanigans. He'll go over to the Smoke, which is the operator that he most commonly plays on this map on the defense. So back to normality if you are Darkzero. But I think it's really promising that Wildcard are finally able to get on the board, especially after some real stop-and-go siege over the last 15 minutes.
Testament to Wildcard that they're able to maintain that, or regain that composure, should I say. Some of the plays that they were making on the defense were fantastic. And see that same sort of flair on the attack now as well when it matters the most. Keeping the game nice and tight. Still only 1 round in it so far. DZ going for quite a denial-focused lineup with the Chanka and the Smoke. Spirit's actually rocking the FMG instead of the shotgun as well, and map that's been pretty dominated by shotgun so far, particularly on Wildcard's defenses. They were putting them to fantastic work, favoring a little bit more fire rate this time. We've got a hell of a lineup to go against, though, in Wildcard. Trinket and a Blitz.
Could be an explosive push. East stairs, it's the mayor himself in his favorite position. He's going to have to face some pressure as they start to toss nades his direction. This is, of course, a new look for Darkzero. This is different from the op lineup they played back in round number 7, and also not something that we saw from them yesterday. So I've honestly been really impressed by DZ's ability to switch up their lineups in this game against Wildcard. They've looked like a completely different team, and that's critical when you play the same map on back-to-back days. Having a deep strat book is absolutely vital, and Darkzero certainly seemed to have that today. It means that Wildcard will have to problem solve each and every round, and right now that means looking towards Tellers, hoping to get a pick earlier on. Really not sure where Dash wants to bring the defuse kit still at this point. No work's really been done security side, so you have to imagine it's going to be in through offices and in through archives.
It looks like a very uncertain round from Wildcard, doesn't it? And I'm wondering if the problem solving has just been caused to be stretched a little bit too far. Citizen, opening pick. It's been a rarity so far for Darkzero, but they've done well off it when they have gotten it. Kansan trying to bear down on the players inside of Fountain right now. But for a slow round and this much denial, it isn't a good look at the moment for Wildcard. A hell of an engagement here, but one. Oh no, Citizen comes in with the assist! Oh, it was beautiful to save his teammate's life right there where it matters the most. Dash down, Bay, one shot. Spiker finds NJR. There's a whole minute left in this. Dash is almost certainly going to get collected. The default cam will give that information away, and it only adds more weight into those Shumika launchers in the hands of Nath. A couple of well-placed Shumikas, and both Bay and Dash will be out of the action right now. Citizen still inside a CCTV as well. Gets a great pick there. Finishes off onto Dash. He can peek outside and collect the rest. It's an ace for Citizen. For a player that has struggled a little bit during stage 2, but oh boy, what a time to pull it out of the bag.
Wasn't that long ago though, where you were just asking for more from this guy, and now we're finally getting it. Hey, what a brilliant round to come through from Ben. Massively stepping up when his teammates needed him, and that was really the time where he had to shine. A discoordinated push, you could argue, coming through from Wildcard. You said it, they didn't seem to know where they wanted to go. Pressure towards archives that didn't amount to anything. The opening death happens break room door by Baby Shark. Eventually it's a commitment on east side, but it's a complete mess. Kansan, his first round on Blitz all stage long. It almost goes his way, but Citizen finds the head anyways. And then late round, look at this. 2 drones left alive according to the HUD in the top right. Both of them were in pocket for Wildcard. No information at all in that late round, along with the fact that they just didn't really have the utility in the late round either. In the 3v3, maybe it was even numbers, but they had used all of their flashes at that point except for 2 on Dash. They'd used all of their nades. They really were not in a good spot in terms of the util. And it seems like we will have to have another short break here just to get this game continuing. It's been a very stop and go game for these two teams, but that doesn't mean that it's not been ridiculously close.
It's been a very close game so far. Wildcard have done well off the back of these breaks, but Darkzero managing to find that little bit of momentum there, a bit of secret sauce. If one player is going to hit an ace, I mean, what are you going to do about it? The thing for me that was most impressive was where he saves NJR. Usually as soon as a player gets downed by a shield, that's just game over. It's a wraps for that player on the floor. And I'm sure NJR saw his life flash before his eyes there in that final round. Hopefully, for one last time, we will be hitting a rehost. We will be cutting to a very short break while we get everything up and running. And I do once again thank you so much for bearing with us while we suffer with these technical problems, but we are doing our best to sort them out. We'll be back in just a few.
Defenders, protect your
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for bearing with us. Hopefully, that is the end of the tech tonight. I mean, if Darkzero get it done here, then it certainly is, isn't it? Because they will have won the game. But for a game that has been so back and forth, it will be very nice to see Wildcard have a little bit of a resurgence here when they need it the most.
Absolutely. I mean, this is maybe a blessing in disguise for a wild card. It's obviously never great to have your momentum halted like this and to have to stall out a game, but some opportunities for sure to talk about what's been going wrong on this attacking side. They are currently 1-3. It was 3-3 at the half, and Darkzero have definitely looked like the better team since that side swap. They won rounds 7, 8, and 10, so getting to repeat the same bomb site once again, going down to Ventilation Workshop. Last time that they won this, it was a retake strategy. Tried to use this the Solus to stop the plant from up above, wasn't so successful. Thankfully, there were some really smart, active plays from Spirits that was able to get them the advantage in the retake and win it out in the end, disabling behind a Clash shield. Now Clash is banned, of course, and Wildcard aren't really going for the same strategy anyways. We've got Bay here with Aurora. It might just be a rush straight into the vents window.
It could be looking to do something quick again. The think of the blitz. All of this speaks to something that's a little bit pacey. And don't forget, pacey plays don't have to come in the first minute. It can be quick when the execute happens. And that sometimes is all that it takes. Question is, are DZ going to be ready and waiting for it? Pamba certainly was with a great C4 dash, chewing his way through just about every PC utility on his way to this top floor. Finds himself in small office, but he's just getting chipped down further and further. Eventually finds one, and Bay right up behind him, able to pick one onto Pamba. Kansan with an opportunity now on the glass, an equal 3 versus 3, despite the burst and despite how good that looked for Wildcard. They're not in the best of states. Yeah, it's 3v3, but Bay and Dash are both super low right now, and DZ have been allowed to slip around a little bit here. A good shot there from Spirits, brilliant tracing through the door there, but a visual through the software. It had been opened up a little bit and just knew where the head was. That's a kill that is not going to go traded. Default camera shot there from Dash. A little bit of drone work happening upstairs as well. But Kansan is asking for a lot to try and work this vert for a whole minute and find something.
There's one smoke still in the pocket of Dash. If they can use that to try to get something with the glass, it could be massive. Still some Roar utility, but I mean, this drop is surely a death sentence with NJR holding it from down below, TCSG in hand. If this is the strategy, they have to get NJR out of here first.
NJR did a brilliant job himself of winning these engagements when he was on the attack. He will let the blitz fall and misses the shots twice, but not a third time. Hits the head. And Kansan left with the sidearm in hand. Citizen throwing everything he had, it just further chipping him down. The diffuser cold on the floor, the Roarador punishing him, not allowing him that direct access into sight. DZ successful on border. A game that, I mean, shouldn't have gone that long based on tech hosts, but really Wildcard fought very well in that first half, but on the attack, they just fell short.
And for the first time in a while, Darkzero will jump up into a playoff spot and Wildcard will fall out. The race for top 6 does continue, but a critical game for DZ goes their way. Might have taken a little longer than they had hoped, but the full 3 points is all that matters. Darkzero looking back in it here in Super Week. We've got 3 more games to get through, as well as a desk. We'll be interviewing our winners, so we'll go straight to that after a break.
Her. Oh, fuck. I'm with you, Nick. I'm double up.
Good.
Cave down here.
No! Let's fucking go, boys! Let's go! Oh, let's go! The marbles are made. Let's go! Great fucking in.
That definitely is the win that DZ needed today to be able to solidify themselves, or at least get a little bit closer to qualifying to the playoffs that are happening in 2 weeks' time. Let's bring over Citizen to give us a bit more of an insight as to what's been happening with DZ. I mean, first of all, congratulations. This is very much the win that you guys needed. I would really actually like to start talking about yesterday specifically and what happened in that game against SSG.
Yep. Thank you for that we won. And I don't know, yesterday they just had a better game plan and beat us with it. Nothing much to say, really.
Yeah, what was the mindset with going to border yesterday and today, essentially? Like, is it a new map that you guys have been, obviously you guys have played it, you're comfortable on it, but is there a reason as to why you guys are going to border, as aside from, one of the more slower paced maps?
I actually don't know. I'm not really involved in map bans. That's a question for Nath or Phil, the coach, Ryan.
Fair enough.
For sure.
But I think they just, I think because yesterday was kind of like a quote-unquote bad day, but better game plan. I think we had the better game plan today against Wildcard. Like, I think we knew what they were going to do and just thought we'd do better than them, basically.
Well, you definitely executed and got a very much needed 3 points out of this game. I kind of want to just talk about, obviously, the performance so far. We haven't been able to talk to you guys, well, you specifically. I'm curious, you know, needing one more game to get underneath your belt, pushing to playoffs. What are you guys going to do differently that you haven't done throughout this stage than if you make playoffs?
I don't really want to give away our secrets.
Okay,
but,
so you're the same as Nave. He said he didn't want to give anything away. I'll see if I can get something out of you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens in playoffs if we need to change. But obviously, like as Nave said before, we know the problems. We just need to work on them and fix them and find a way.
All right.
Well, when it comes to then an individual level for you specifically, as you've stated, as a team, you guys know the problems, you know the issues, you're working on those. What is it that you are doing individually, or that maybe you have noticed that could maybe be changed up heading into playoffs?
Run around more. I don't know, have some fun. Could be simple answer.
Are you not having fun?
Bored on playing Cade and Mute, and I'm just locking it down when I need to and hoping that the team kills the people around me, you know, and yeah, that's why it's not really that fun, but gotta do stuff for the team when, you know.
You gotta do what you gotta do, but tomorrow as well, you guys are playing LFO, I guess a little bit of a different team when it comes to the opponents that you've faced so far. Anything you're taking differently when you're going up against that team?
They have 0 wins, I'm not asked.
All right, well, either way, thank you so much for your insight. Congrats once again on the win today. Looking forward to tomorrow
Thank you very much.
as well. See you around. Bye.
I was hoping that I was going to be able to get something from him that Nafe wasn't going to give us, but I mean, he gave the concrete answer that Nafe gave. You know, they know their issues. They aren't going to expose what those issues are, which makes sense. Just unfortunate for us here and you guys watching, because I think we want a little more in depth. But
they run a tight ship.
I mean, he got to when it's do or die in this situation that they found themselves in.
I also think they're a little disappointed in themselves just because, yeah, they did get the win today. It wasn't as clean as we would have liked from Darkzero, and obviously they'll most likely win against LFO tomorrow. But I think for them, the fact that they're in this position where they need to beat Wildcard and LFO to secure playoffs, I think that's something that they can't be too happy about. Obviously, we know the caliber of team Darkzero can be.
I mean, you're saying that's not what we expected from them today, but let's be completely honest here. Both yourself and Lox heading into this game said actually Wildcard look more consistent. They look more confident. So what about that?
I mean, I didn't really know what to expect given, you know, how many times we're seeing DZ fumble some of these rounds, or not even in this game, just throughout the stage so far. So it was hard for me to put, you know, all my eggs in the basket on them going into this. Just watching their matchup the other day in comparison to Wildcard, sure, it was against Cruelty, but Wildcard has been very consistent with their issues where we've seen DZ in the beginning of the stage. They said they're looking at everything, they're changing everything, and we've been seeing it be a huge proprietor as to why they weren't finding success or looking like themselves. But today was definitely a brand new day. They came in with a far better strategy. They got that 3-3 half, which I think was the most important thing, was ending that on a 3-3 half and then being able to shut it down once they switch back to their defenses.
I think something that I think something that Citizen said stuck out to me is he was saying, it's not really, I want to move around more. It's not really exciting to play Mute Cade. I just hold a position down. I feel like that's the case for a lot of DZ's strats as we see NJR, Panba, Nafe, Citizen. Everyone's just sitting still, holding a position, and they don't really make moves or adaptations like we're used to seeing until it's the late round, and they're focusing on the win condition of how we're going to stop plant or how we're going to get the plant down. And that's something that I feel like Darkzero's confidence, again, has slowly been lacking because it's not something that they're used to doing, is just sitting there doing nothing.
But that's even where they struggled yesterday. You know, when we talk about that discipline of even going into this matchup, that's where they failed against SSG. Whereas had they played more structure, sure, had they maybe played a more boring game against SSG and just sitting still and playing their positions, especially on that defensive half, they maybe win that game or at least keep it significantly closer and push an OT with SSG.
I mean, he said he wasn't having fun, but at least, you know, he managed to get an ace under his belt, which is, you know, nothing to snuff your nose up at.
No, not by any means. I mean, I don't know what it is with Citizen on Border in particular where he just pulls out these aces out of nowhere, but he managed to do it last stage, I believe, with the Deimos, had a huge clutch, and then to be able to do it here in CC with Ela. I mean, let me tell you, trying to push into CCTV going against Ela, that is a scary gun to be going up against. It's high fire rate, and with Citizen behind it, I believe Jesse said, you know, he's one of the best entry fraggers in all of Siege, and arguably still one of the best, to say the least, in the scene. So to go against him with a high fire rate gun in a very small choke point of CCTV, it's no surprise that he gets it done.
Yeah, I mean, that was their game today. Yesterday they played against SSG, and SSG is going up against Shopify, who's also in a little bit of a peculiar position because Shopify, not really. They've, at this point, more or less locked it. But SSG, when we're looking at their performance this stage so far, it has been a little lackluster, and they need to win every single one of the games that they have coming ahead if they want to stay in playoffs contention. So can they do that? We're going to find out after the break.